my co-host for the day, the notable, the one and only, you love him, Ben Tribbett, NotLarrySabato.com, an iconic figure within Virginia and the nation. Also joining us here is Cragg Hines. He is a Washington, D.C. based political opinion columnist. No?
Retired,
but he's still
He retired in 2007.
Anyway, retired in 2007.
Below the line.
He wrote for the Houston Chronicle, but I'm kind of mad because he says he's not an Astro fan like me. So I guess I'll get over it. Cragg, by the way, this segment brought to you in part by, guess who? Tim Kaine. That's right, Tim Kaine running for vice president, partly sponsoring this segment. Tim Kaine, a longtime contributor of the John Fredericks Show, and we thank Tim Kaine for his support for us being here in Philadelphia. And for more information, he says, forget TimKaine.com. He says, forget that. Go to HillaryClinton.com. HillaryClinton.com. So that's from Senator Tim Kaine, who is expected here. It's hush-hush, because he's got Secret Service and all that. But we expect him here in the next day because, well, it is Thursday. So that's a pretty safe bet. He's not going to be here today, though.
But he's speaking Wednesday night.
He's going to be speaking Wednesday night, so he's going to be here. He's going to be here one of those days, and
his presence is here.
His presence is here. So, listen, Cragg Hines. I mean, you've been covering this stuff for a long time. I talked to the Bernie Sanders protesters. They're out yesterday, 15,000 of them. Now, why do you do that, Cragg? You're yawning. I mean, there's a lot of people that came from far away to be here. They're out in the rain. They're sleeping in their cars. Why do you think that's a snoozer, Cragg?
I think it's their absolute right. Absolutely, they can do whatever they want to within the bounds, set by law. But in the end, if they had rather see Donald Trump as president of the United States, I have absolutely zero compassion for them or understanding of where they're going.
Well, I talked to a bunch of them. Not one of them is voting for Hillary. So I just went along.
What are they doing, though? What are they voting for?
7. I talked to 33. 3 of them.
These are the protesters outside, by the way, which I think is demographically different than the Bernie Sanders delegates inside, and is demographically different than the Bernie Sanders supporters across the country.
Yes, these are
the hardcore people that are driving from there to protest.
Outside.
So,
what we used to call, and I still do call, dead-enders.
Yeah, okay. So, I mean, we're talking about these are the protesters, right?
Right.
These aren't even the people that Sarah Silverman spoke to last night.
These are the people that are outside the perimeter. I talked to 30 of them.
That's it, outside the perimeter.
That's right.
That's where they are, outside the perimeter.
17 were voting for the Green candidate, 12 were voting for Trump, and 1 was going to run, and then I stopped.
Well, I take that very seriously because each of those is a vote that Hillary Clinton should have.
Yeah.
That Hillary Clinton
12
deserves.
of them were going to Trump. I was shocked at that. But none for Hillary. I mean, she went 0 for 30.
The ones who are voting for Trump, we should call the nearest state psychiatric hospital and have a real workup done on them.
I got to disagree with you on that, Cragg, and I'll tell you why. Not everyone who was a Bernie person supported Bernie because of ideology. Now, if you were a Bernie person on ideology, I agree with you. I think that to support Trump would be insane. But a lot of the Bernie people supported Bernie because they wanted to upset the political system.
Right.
And if you're a voter that just only was for Bernie, look at the states that he won. He won a lot of conservative Democrats that just wanted to upend Hillary Clinton, not necessarily all liberals. So, I wouldn't
outliers,
say
totally outliers. Come on.
They're not swing staters, and I think that's the most important thing. We talked about that before you came on. Is the demographics that we're talking about here are generally not in swing states. So it may not be that important of the key states, but I do think that if you are, some of these people are just want to upend the system, and so it makes perfect sense if that's why you supported Bernie. If it's not ideology,
and so you're going to vote for a Trump.
Well, I'm not.
Who will? No, not you, but these outliers are going to vote for Trump. But what does that do? I mean, do they think it will make it so bad that they can then go back to the barricades with Molotov cocktails or what?
That's not what they were saying yesterday. Now, you got to remember, these people were very upset. They drove a long way, and they're out in the 100-degree heat. None of them were voting for Clinton. But the 12 that said they're voting for Trump, and Ben's right, it was not ideological. It was like, you know what, we just got to, and I'm paraphrasing, we just have to break it up, because as long as Wall Street and the banks control it, there's not a dime's worth of difference between any of these candidates. And basically, You got a group of people in Wall Street and banks that are making all the decisions. Now, I'm paraphrasing 10 or 12 people that were very upset, but that was the general gist of it.
I got started in this convention business in 1972 in Miami.
McGovern. 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yes. I, of course, was already asleep because I was a young reporter. I was covering the streets. And I'd have to get up, go cover the streets, and then go to court, municipal court in downtown Miami, to watch these, people, who should have been home or in school or something. And people want to protest. God, I understand that. But, these are just not rational. I don't know if they will become rational. I understand. There's nothing wrong with, a little revolution every now and then. God knows we've actually seen that in the U.S. House. So it'll be, I take the polls. I saw Nate Silver on the floor last night. I take, the polls at what they are now. But in the end, I think the basics are just so strong. The fundamentals are so strong. I cannot get Donald Trump to 270.
I think he's going to win. And, you look at the CNN poll that just came out. He's up by 5. Clinton's at 39%. That's like unbelievable. You got somebody that has been on the national scene for how many, 20 years straight? And after a convention in Cleveland, that was a complete nightmare because I was there in the middle of it. I was a national delegate from Virginia fighting the Cruz people, whatever they were doing for 5 days.
We're happy. People from Texas are happy to share a TED with you.
Yes, well, that was, I told Ben I couldn't wait to get out of there. I my wife, she was a delegate too. I loved the whole thing. But I spent 5 days fighting Ken Cuccinelli and his forces every day. And by Saturday, I was exhausted.
Well, for those of us who are groupies, and all three of us are groupies, this is of democracy.
Yes.
It's also summer camp. It has, and journalists at least get to go to both summer camps,
right,
or have to go to both summer camps.
Right.
But that's what this is. It is where you see everybody,
right,
who has, except the ones who are having to stay away because they don't want to be too close to, But it's an amazing display.
So, but I want to get back to what Ben said earlier, and he said, Clinton at 39%. She's nowhere near 50%. How do you get, after all this time, to be at 39% then?
How many majority presidents have we had in the last 6 elections?
What's troubling is, and I think that this is the big piece of this convention week, Hillary has to get a small bit, has to lead this convention with a lead. Obviously, Trump retook a lead
by
after
when?
this convention.
Next Tuesday or Wednesday?
Right, by the end of this convention, when we have a full test.
Yeah, we're all calling, or whatever we're doing now.
All the calling is after the convention. She has to be in the lead because, look, the reality is this is it's troubling for her. What else do people need to learn about her? They already know everything they need to about. They could their perceptions. They know everything and they know something about Trump. And that's the scariest part is, this is not some new candidate like Rubio that's surging out of the convention because people don't know him yet and you got to define him. Trump is already defined. And
I disagree. I think there is so much material and, negative profiling, whatever you want to call it, so much that you go issue by issue. And, only about 10, 11 states are going to see.
Right, but Trump,
the media.
But Cragg, here's what I would argue to you. Trump's already got disapprovals in the 60%. So the fact that they're voting for him while they disapprove of him, that's the scary part because it's not that you need to drive up his negatives. He already has huge negatives.
And the CNN, how much is soft Trump?
I don't think they measure leaners.
You could get it back in the entrails someplace.
Yeah, and if you measure leaners, neither one of them's been at 40% this entire campaign. But, this is going to be a very, very close election. And I've speculated to John earlier, I wouldn't be surprised if Hillary overperforms in some of the swing states, and if Trump isn't doing better in the popular vote as of today.
Believe me, both campaigns, I assume Trump will run sophisticated enough polling. I do not believe on November 9th at 7 o'clock, Robbie Mook is going to be surprised by some outlier state that they didn't know anything about in terms of numbers.
I don't think we're saying that. I think what we're saying is you could see.
But where's the surprise?
You mean for Trump to win?
Yes.
Well, it's a very simple math, and this is why I think he's going to get elected. He's got to win all the Romney states in 2012, Cragg, which you can basically mail them in. He is going to win those states. You can make an argument for Montana or something. He's going to win every Romney state, and then he's got to win Ohio, which he's ahead, Pennsylvania he's ahead, and Florida he's tied. He wins those three, he's president. He's going to win New Hampshire. That doesn't matter. Now, if he loses Florida, then the math becomes tough because now he's got to win New Hampshire and Colorado and Iowa, and you really got to thread the needle. So the battle, I think, is going to come down to Florida, but the math for him is there. I mean, it's a Romney states. He's ahead in all those, Florida, Pennsylvania, and Ohio, and he's up or tied in all of them. That's the math.
So we've won.
No, I'm not conceding it. I'm saying that
if Trump loses Virginia,
I'm saying
he
that
must win Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Florida.
Yeah, I mean, Virginia is a tougher haul for him with, and Ben and I don't agree on this. He says Tim Kaine has no impact in Virginia.
Tim Kaine ran ahead of Obama.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's the
50,000. He ran 50,000 ahead.
And therein lies the point of why I think there's not a lot of impact, because you can look at
Mark
all of
Herring
Tim's
would
races.
love 50,000 votes.
Yeah. Well, you can look at all of Tim Kaine's races, whether it's the governor's race when we lost both down ballot, ahead of Obama in 2012, and what you see is that there's some Republicans that really like Tim Kaine that he doesn't translate to others. He's not going to translate those voters to Hillary Clinton for sure. But here's what he is going to do: is he's going to energize the people who are already voting for Hillary and excite them.
Right.
And he certainly created a lot of that excitement. How much that translates into real votes, I don't know, but it certainly does fire everyone up.
Okay, where is the Trump mechanism, the campaign in Virginia? Do you see it yet?
Non-existent.
Thank you.
And we're saying that to the Trump.
I'm the Trump co-chair of the state of Virginia, and look, we're way behind. Virginia, we're an underdog, and the choosing of Kaine made us a big underdog.
Why are you here? Why aren't you in Charlottesville driving to Roanoke? I mean, come on. I mean,
because
that's being pejorative.
Because I have a job.
Yes.
I mean, that's I still have to do my
and you do a good
job, and
for what you do.
My kids need to eat, so I got to do my job. But we have a shot.
Republicans don't drive from Charlottesville anywhere, by the way.
Yeah, we have a shot.
Outer Albemarle County.
We have a shot in Virginia, but it's a longer shot with Kaine because I think he energized
But
the
you
base.
have to keep all of these balls in the air.
Yeah, and you got to tie them up here. Plus the Clinton ground game. I mean, they've got all of McAuliffe's political action committee. They got Warner's organization. They got Tim Kaine has an organization. They got a number of organizations. And what does Trump have? He's got a handful of people from the Republican. A handful, because there's no statewide organization.
How many people embody the machinery of the Republican Party of Virginia?
Well, they've added.
I'm talking about staff. People, field operators, district leaders, things like that.
I'm going to say less than 20.
You actually need more than two hands.
As opposed to the Clinton Democratic Party of Virginia that has maybe a couple of hundred, at least.
At least.
I mean, during the state Senate campaign, the Republicans had two people, and the Democrats under McAuliffe's political action committee in the Democratic Party of Virginia had 170.
Republicans won.
And Republicans won. So that's the other argument. It's like...
which race are you talking about?
Right, about the state Senate races.
State Senate.
Virginia Democrats had 175 people.
We held we needed to.
No, you lost.
He lost.
Well, what do you mean you held? You lost.
Well, I have a.
You put millions into. Wait a minute.
It was all the campaign.
Wait a minute. You spent millions and millions of dollars more than the Republicans. You had 175 people versus 3, and you lost. And now you're going to spin it and tell me you won?
Here's what I have to say. Thank you, Michael Bloomberg.
I mean, come on, man. You lost.
It was not the result I'd been hoping for, personally. I spent a lot of time in the McPike district.
But the point is, Cragg, the field organizers doesn't mean you win the election.
Right.
And I think that when you, if it was organizers and if it was volunteers, the Democrats would win every election. By the way, we have walking by right now as we're on the air. You know, people are coming by, starting to get breakfast. Just walking by us was Alan Diamondstein, who's
You
the
were just
person
talking about him.
Tim Kaine defeated
All bow low. Yes.
in 2001 for lieutenant governor in the primary.
He's gotten over it. He's gotten over it.
Yeah.
All right, we're out of time. This is the John Fredericks Radio Network. We'll be right back.